Part 1 Prelude, HMS Agincourt in the British Fleet. HMS Agincourt was not just a ship, it was a symbol of British naval power after the First World War. Enormous, heavily armored, with 14 massive 15-inch, 381mm guns, it inspired awe in everyone who saw it on the horizon. Its presence in Mediterranean ports was a clear sign that the Royal Navy controlled the sea lanes and that British interests remained unshakable. The ship's crew numbered over 1,000. Every day aboard the ship was meticulously planned, from bridge watches, patrolling the decks, to maintaining guns and engineering systems. Discipline aboard Agincourt was strict. Sailors knew that every detail, from engine condition to weapon cleanliness, could be a matter of life and death in the event of conflict. Despite this order, there was an invisible tension on the ship. The Royal Navy often dealt with intelligence reports about possible sabotage and espionage in the region. The ship's captain, known for his strictness and attention to detail, believed his ship to be invincible. But as naval history has shown, the most unexpected threats always come from the shadows. Daily crew drills included practicing gun and machine gun readiness, responding to fires and accidents aboard, maneuvering the ship in narrow waters, psychological exercises to react quickly under stress. This routine made the crew strong, but it also created an illusion of invincibility, which the Ottomans planned to exploit. Part 2 Ottoman Intelligence, Preparing the Operation. The Ottoman Empire, though technologically inferior to the British, had centuries of naval experience and valued cunning and strategic planning. After World War I, they sought to restore their fleet, and HMS Agincourt became an exceptionally attractive target. Ottoman intelligence began gathering information months before the operation. Agents collected data on patrol schedules and crew rotations, night lighting patterns in the port, fuel, water, and ammunition supply routes, weaknesses in the ship's security systems. They created a detailed map of the ship and surrounding waters, even accounting for tides and underwater currents. The main task was to find the least guarded point of entry, where Agincourt's massive guns would be useless. In addition to physical preparation, the operatives trained mentally. They were taught to move silently, maintain concentration under pressure, and respond immediately to unexpected situations. Every step was planned to the hour, from boarding the ship to taking control of the bridge. Part 3 The Final Calm Before the Storm. On the evening before the operation, HMS Agincourt appeared calm and even majestic. Its silhouette stood against the starry sky, and the faint glow of deck lights created an illusion of security. Engine rooms ran at low power, the ship lay at anchor, ready for a normal, uneventful night. For most of the crew, it was an ordinary evening. Some wrote letters home, some played cards in the cabins, and some simply dozed after a long day. Watch officers patrolled the decks, unaware that within hours, this ship would become the scene of events destined to enter history. The captain reviewed reports and issued the final orders before night rest. There appeared to be no serious threats. The Ottoman fleet, according to British command, was too weak and disorganized for a bold operation against such a giant. This overconfidence would prove fatal. Part 4 Shadow in the Water. The operation begins. A few miles from the battleship, under total darkness, the Ottoman special forces were already in motion. Small boats without engines glided silently through the water, propelled only by oars and cold calculation. Each boat carried several fighters, dressed in dark clothing, carrying minimal equipment. The operation commander knew there was little time. The window of opportunity was only a few hours. While most of the crew slept and the guard rotation had not yet heightened alertness. They advanced slowly, using shadows cast by other ships and port structures. Every meter was tense. Any sound or flash of light could ruin the entire mission. When only a few meters remained to the side of Agincourt, the commandos stopped. One raised a hand, a signal for silence. Everyone froze. Above them loomed the steel side of the battleship, a symbol of strength that was about to become a trap for its own crew. Part 5: Boarding, Combat without Cannons. The first Ottoman fighters climbed aboard using grappling hooks and ropes. The metal deck was cold, slippery with sea salt. Every movement was slow, controlled. A sentry on the stern heard a faint noise and stepped forward, but didn't have time to shout. He was quietly neutralized, without spilling unnecessary blood. The Ottomans did not intend a massacre. They needed the ship intact, not chaos. The boarding parties operated in coordination. One group to the engine room, another to the communications nodes, a third to the bridge. In the narrow corridors, brief skirmishes broke out. Lanterns fell to the floor, muffled shouts, strikes with rifle butts, the crunch of metal. The British sailors awoke in confusion, unable to comprehend what was happening. The main guns, capable of destroying entire fleets, were useless. This was a fight of humans, not of ships. Part 6: The Bridge, the Point of No Return. The critical moment came when the Ottomans reached the bridge. A brief but intense struggle ensued. The captain attempted to organize defense, but communications were cut, and the engine room was under enemy control. When the British officer realized the scale of the disaster, it was too late. The ship could neither maneuver nor signal alarm, nor engage in combat. After a short council, the captain made the hard decision to surrender to avoid mass casualties. HMS Agincourt, pride of the Royal Navy, was taken with minimal firing from the main guns. Part 7: Dawn that changed history. At sunrise, the scene was shocking. The Ottoman flag flew above the battleship. British sailors stood on deck, exhausted and stunned, realizing they had witnessed an event that would shatter myths of absolute naval supremacy. News spread rapidly. Ports, headquarters, admiralty offices, everyone talked about one thing: how could this happen? For the Ottomans, it was more than a victory. It was proof that the empire was still alive, capable of thinking, planning, and striking where the enemy least expected. HMS Agincourt. Part 8: The Crew in Captivity, the Price of Invincibility. After the capture of HMS Agincourt, the British crew was isolated, with many held in military camps near the port. For the sailors, this was a shocking ordeal. Many could not believe that the ship they had served on for years had fallen into enemy hands with almost no major battle. Life in captivity was harsh, but the Ottomans treated the British relatively humanely. They understood the value of an experienced crew. Knowledge of the ship could be useful if it needed to be operated or if Ottoman sailors required training. The sailors spent their days awaiting rescue, discussing the last moments of resistance, their families, the fleet, and how unpredictable circumstances can change life in an instant. The psychological impact was enormous. Even those not directly involved in the fighting felt complicit in a historic loss. Part 9: Ottoman use of HMS Agincourt. The Ottoman Empire wasted no time. Within weeks of capturing HMS Agincourt, modifications began. Communications and radio systems were upgraded. Some of the British armaments were replaced with ammunition compatible with Ottoman supplies. A new crew was trained to operate the battleship effectively under Ottoman command. Agincourt became the flagship of the Ottoman Mediterranean fleet, providing control over key sea routes and strategic ports. Its presence allowed for demonstrative patrols, blockades, and training exercises, signaling that the Ottomans were returning as a maritime power. The ship also served as a training platform for officers and gunners. Young sailors learned on a real battleship, familiarizing themselves with naval tactics and large ship operations, which greatly enhanced the Ottoman fleet's combat capability. Part 10. International Reaction. The news of HMS Agincourt's capture sent shockwaves through London and among its allies. The Admiralty immediately reviewed security protocols for all battleships in the Mediterranean. It became clear that even the most powerful ships were vulnerable to bold, well-planned attacks. Newspapers across Europe wrote of the nighttime humiliation of the British fleet. It served as a lesson for all major naval powers. Technology and firepower alone cannot replace strategic thinking and vigilance. For the Ottomans, it was a major moral and political success. Though the empire had lost territory, it proved that it could still execute effective operations against a superior enemy. Part 11. Conclusion. The strategic lesson. HMS Agincourt entered history not merely as a British battleship, but as a symbol that human ingenuity and courage can surpass material superiority. For the British, it was a stark reminder that a fleet cannot rely solely on heavy guns and armor. For the Ottomans, it was proof that careful planning, patience, and precise execution could achieve remarkable results. This case also became a classic lesson in naval strategy. The importance of intelligence and information gathering. The effective use of nighttime operations and cover. Training and deployment of small, specialized assault teams. Accounting for the psychological factor of the crew. Even decades later, historians cite this operation as a quintessential example of how a small, well-prepared force can shift the balance of power against a mighty opponent. HMS Agincourt was more than a ship. It was a reminder that behind every steel giant are humans, with fears, errors, courage, and resolve. And often, it is the human factor that determines the outcome of even the most powerful wars at sea.